Time to sound off, Husker Nation. This is your Real Red Reaction Show on Lincoln's KFOR. Call the show now at 402-489-1240.
Welcome to it. It is Real Red Reaction time here on KFOR, KFORnow.com. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark, Tim Bob Kitzmiller. Fellas, Nebraska able to hang on. That's a capital H. Hang on, 31-14. It was looking good. It was feeling good. At one point, third quarter, 21-0. Nebraska again starts off the second half like they ended the first half or began the first half with a fumble. Defense rises to the occasion, and not only do they not allow any points, but it's a blocked field goal and return by Newsom to make Nebraska fans smile and go get warm. But then, oh yeah, there's a whole nother quarter to play, and Nebraska didn't. They were absent. We'll take your phone calls here. Real Red Reaction brought to you by your friends at Currency, 489-1240, 489-1240, or 800-825-5865. Can watch Real Red Reaction on YouTube as well. The Hail Varsity YouTube channel, the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel, KFOR Facebook, KFOR Twitter, and the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed. Guys, this what's the mood right now as we gather it, judging by the unofficial straw poll here inside the single barrel? Some relief, some anger, lots of frustration. Helmut Vaughn wants me to keep picking against Nebraska moving forward. This was pretty frustrating, and this would have been the mother of oh-no's had Nebraska not found their way into to victory. But 47 total yards in the second half for Nebraska's offense until Emmett Johnson ripped off that insurance policy, 28-yard touchdown run. But a kind of a nightmare of a second half for Nebraska. A win's a win. 31-14 looks a lot better, Elijah, than it was.
I mean, it looked good for 3.5 quarters, 3 quarters, right? I mean, maybe
defense looked incredible all game.
Defense looked incredible throughout. Yeah, the offense had the turnover issues, but let's be honest. If you came into this game expecting no turnovers from the Husker offense, I want whatever you're smoking. Like, you got to expect there's going to be turnovers with the Husker offense. 5 fumbles is unacceptable. I'm sure Rule is going to rip into these guys despite the fact that it's a win next week at practice whenever they come back and start getting ready for Michigan State. There's a lot to clean up, but at the end of the day, it's how Nebraska needs to win football games right now. You know what? You're going to live with the mistakes offensively. You'd like to avoid them. You'd like to cut down on them. They're still going to happen. A zebra can't lose its stripes, and right now the Husker offense can't lose the turnover. So you got to make sure your defense understands whenever we are called upon, whenever their offense gets a short field, we need to come in and we need to step up. They did that for the most part. There were some questionable moments in the fourth quarter, but whenever you give the Purdue that many opportunities in Nebraska's half of the field, the defense isn't going to be able to get off the field on all of them. They did what they had to do. Nebraska put up 31 points, and just as we all predicted, the overs hit in Vegas. Just kidding. I don't think anyone predicted the overs in Vegas.
No.
But as I said yesterday, we all picked the unders. Therefore, the overs will hit. That is science. That is guaranteed. That is what happened. So it didn't quite look how we expected to look in terms of final score, but in terms of on-the-field product, I think it looks how we wanted. The offense was sloppy for Nebraska. They had a couple turnovers. The defense came to play, and they're the ones you have to tip your cap to despite the fact that it was 31 points. It was the defense that led the way.
5-3, Tim Bob. 5-3, Elijah. 5-3, Connor Clark. As we will be in East Lansing next week, Thursday through Saturday, to see if Nebraska can get to 6. And they've got to figure it out. There's a lot to be frustrated about, but there's a lot to smile about because Nebraska, on one side of the ball, guys, continues to be dominant and not blinking. They don't blink. No. It's like they expected, Connor, that, all right, something's going to go wrong. This is our little brother, the offense. They're going to screw something up. I better put a fire out. I better have a fire extinguisher ready.
Well, you could have said that about special teams to begin the game. I mean, you lose the coin toss, you get the football first, and you fumble it on the opening
You
kickoff.
ran into a crowd.
Yeah, and I know that's not who you normally have returning your kicks because the kick was pretty short. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, here we go again. This is exactly how the Northwestern game started a week ago. So your defense gets put out on the field immediately. They take care of business as they've done all year. They were fantastic today. Obviously, the number of the day negatively is 5 with the fumbles. And, you question some decision-making, and we can get into this later in the show, especially offensively. But the Black Shirts came to play absolutely today. A big special teams play on the blocked field goal that ran back for a touchdown. That was a huge momentum swing as well, just to build the lead. And I never really felt too nervous about this game throughout.
I was waiting for something bad to happen.
Well, there's something
21-0.
There's something bad did happen, I think, in the Sims
several
fumble,
times,
but it was never really close enough for Nebraska to really give it away. The margin, at least on the scoreboard, wasn't small enough for Purdue to really take advantage. So you tip your cap to this defensive unit. They played absolutely phenomenal today. Tip your cap to Tristan Alvano with that 55-yard field goal. Good for him. Huge confidence boost there. And anytime you could see this Nebraska team put up 31 points, 24 offensively, I mean, that's a pretty decent day at the office. Just got to clean up that fumbling.
Tim Bob, I know you've got some thoughts. We'll get to your stream comments as well. Biggest issue was throwing on first down, up 24-0 in the fourth quarter. Harburg got smoked, fumbled the next play. Harburg benched, Sims in, and hilarity ensued.
Well, and we see why Sims isn't playing. I mean, there's another fumble on the field. I mean,
8 fumbles.
That's what it is. Now, hat tip to the defense, right? I mean, I was watching this game. There was 6 minutes or something to go. I was going, this feels like this game's over. The way the defense is playing, and then of course the fumbles and you set up and you give Purdue some points. But just looking around at the teams that Nebraska has played and how the defense has played, I know I'm off script here a little bit, but Northwestern scored 33 points today against Maryland. Remember a few weeks ago we were saying Maryland's would win the Big Ten West if they were playing in it. I mean, the teams that Illinois scored some points. This defense is flat out playing. I mean, just balling out. And again, that's the formula. One more point than what the opposition played. It was ugly, terrible turnovers. But when's the last time Nebraska blocked a field goal and ran it back for a touchdown? I was trying to find the stat. You haven't seen
2014 against Minnesota. Randy Gregory blocked it. Nate Gary scored it.
So a minute it's been since they got one.
9 spots.
Guys, let's go to the phone lines here quickly. Bob's been hanging on with us. Our first phone call of the day again. You can call the show 402-489-1240. That's where Bob dials in at. Bob, welcome into the Real Red Reaction Show. What do you got for us?
Thank God. Finally, for the first time since Bo Pelini, Nebraska has a football coach. Praise the Lord. I'm over the moon about this team this year. And I'm looking forward to continue. In my opinion, one more, and that's very possible for that. So I'm looking forward to the bowl game. I truly am. And some people say don't jinx or whatever.
Bob, if you have wood nearby, please go knock on that wood for me right now.
Well,
Bob, you're right on. They should get 1 or 2 more, but you look at that fourth quarter and you're scared.
Exactly. When they got those 2 touchdowns, but the way they played consistently the whole game and the whole season with the defense, and all that. I've not been a real witness of anything like that since Bo Pelini got left, and so that's why I just always happy about it, because for the first time I've got something really to be confident about, in my view, Chris.
Bob, you can be 1,000% confident in the defense. Special teams was nails today, and they needed to be. And there are moments on offense where
I agree.
The way things started out, and that 13-play, 87-yard drive that chewed up 8 minutes. I mean, you felt great about that, and then you come back and hit a shot play with the wind at your back. You get Lloyd downtown for 73 yards. There were moments that looked good on this football team offensively, but then when it came to just the fundamentals between Harburg taking care of the football, between Sims getting asked and called into duty, and then keeping the turnover train rolling for him, his streak continues. You got to scream if you're Matt Rule. This game could have been put away a long time ago. Instead, you're sweating it out, Bob, with onside kicks. You're sweating it out with another scoop and score, a strip by Purdue. The defense got involved.
My only argument would be this, Chris, if you don't mind me saying.
No, go for it.
My only argument would be, compared to what we have had and the drastic changes there has been for the better so far, that's why I'm just so optimistic. I've got my hope back again. I got some confidence in the Nebraska football team that I have lacked ever since Bo left.
I get you. Bob, appreciate you tuning in, brother. Thanks for the phone call. 489-1240 or 800-825-5865. Real Red Reaction, powered by Currency.
Can we talk about this one thing for a second? And
we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot. Good for Bob being optimistic and happy. And brother, we're going to the dermatologist to burn warts off.
That might have been the happiest phone call I've ever had during my 4 years working Real Red Reaction.
Okay, because I have
look at these comments. These comments are good.
I got another 40 from Bob over the years. God love him. Where, he was going to go wander in traffic after some inexcusable losses, and it felt like that was where it was headed today. And you can't say it can't happen. You're up 21-0. They got the wind in their face in the fourth quarter, and what happens, man? You bench Harburg. Let's start there.
Well, that's the problem that I have, right? So you have the play.
They should have benched his ass.
No, but this is why.
But I don't think you go to Sims.
He gets absolutely crushed on that pass play, right? Walks right into the sack, gets killed by Jenkins, I believe it was, on the outside. You thought there might have been targeting there. Thing was picked up. Okay, who cares? You move on to the next play. Why is the very next play a quarterback option run?
Because
the dude just got crushed.
It's the only thing they can run.
I don't understand. I feel like you just go back to your principles then. Just go back to a simple handoff. I don't know why Harburg needs to be carrying the ball. The play after, he just got absolutely smoked, and then he loses the ball because, of course, he's going to lose the ball after getting smoked. I mean, that one wasn't as surprising as the first one. I know it's still his fault. Ultimately, at the end of the day, he's got to hold on to the football, but I really don't think he was put in a very good situation to succeed in that scenario. And again, it's one of 5 fumbles. I'm not dismissing the fumbling problem just because of that. It's clearly a problem. But that situation, that whole sequence for me just did not sit well. And I was not a big fan of that sequence of decisions.
I agree 100%, Connor. He got lit up, head snapped back, bell rung. That was not the time to run him on the option. And I have some comments if we get to him about his ability, his decision-making in the option game today. But, they wound up running the ball late. They wound up getting that touchdown. So, I mean, they could have just turned and handed it off. That was just, I'm with you, Connor. That whole sequence was just like, what are we thinking here? We're playing with house money and we're going to, throw a few chips out there. Well, you saw how quickly that could turn into a touchdown the other way. So
489-1240 Real Red Reaction. We're here at the Single Barrel. Agavec says, bottom line, more good than bad. Am I flaking?
No, you're good.
I'm still good.
Well,
okay.
You're kind of frozen, but we can
No,
still hear.
Now you're unfrozen.
We'll get to as many comments as we can. We'll take more of your calls. We're locked in for 90 minutes on the air, and as much as you want to contribute and party with us here on Real Red Reaction, we can go digital for a while as well.
As somebody who is kind of newer compared to everybody else in the room to Nebraska football, look at Mr. Mark's comment for a second. First time undefeated in the month of October in 22 years. Is that factually correct? Can we fact check that? Because you guys would know better than I would. And
We
that's
talked about it in
astonishing
the
stat.
pregame show, and Nebraska hasn't won out in October, I think, probably since the conference championship game
Wow.
season in 1999.
I'll do
That
some
is
fact checking
unbelievable.
here.
That'll be good.
The earliest it could have been was 2016, so let's just start there, and I'll keep moving back from there, and I'll have that fact check for you here in just a
Elijah's
second.
got homework.
I think they lost in October at Wisconsin, so that didn't happen.
They did.
We have to go to 2012 when they won out. Or no, they probably lost at Ohio State in October in 2012.
I'll work on the fact
So-
check. You guys find something else to talk about, and I'll come back to you guys in 10 seconds here.
Sure.
Well,
So-
I mean, again, a good comment here from Bora. We got down 3 wide receivers, and you got 2 big touchdown plays down the field. So, wide receivers getting open down the field, good play calling there for all the shade they're throwing against, the OC. It's
Satterfield, yeah.
he's dialing up the right plays on the deep ball. I think he's learning to coach like this with this team as well at times.
The young wide receivers showed up big time today with Lloyd and his touchdown grab, Doss, a nice third down conversion. No, I mean, Harburg, let's start with the good, was dialed in early, was making some plays in the passing game. I like the play action. That's where they focused in on early on when they asked him to throw it. And he made some nice pitches and decisions in the option game outside. Now, there's also some other side of the coin we need to get to with some of his zone read keeps, and we're going to nitpick for a second, forgive me, but just flat out holding on to the football, you can't do that. And I don't disagree with sending him to the bench after that latest fumble. The problem you have is who you turn to, and the guy who's healthy and people have been kind of clamoring for because it's been an unsteady performance by Harburg despite the record at 4-1. That blew me away that they chose Sims to go to and not Purdy, just because of the history. And then to continue to play with fire, you've got Sims and Grant in the backfield at the same time, just to play earlier before the Sims fumble. Grant coughed it up again, but his shoulder was down.
Mhm.
So the guys tense up. Are they not following through with their fundamentals? There better be 77 hours, which violates the NCAA, of ball security practice this coming week. And if I'm Rule, you can celebrate and fix things after a win, a third straight win, which is nice. You feel good as a Nebraska fan for that. But this thing was far from perfect, far from pretty. And Nebraska really has to focus to finish, and they didn't do it today, and they won 31-14. And that line flipped all the way from Nebraska being favored to Purdue as a -1 favorite right at kickoff.
So some people in Vegas lost a lot of money today moving that line,
Yes.
is all I'm going to say. I will also add the independent fact check has been complete. It is confirmed the last time Nebraska went undefeated in the month of October before today was 2001.
That's wild.
Okay, yes,
That is
01. You
wild.
played for a national title. November didn't go well. We'll leave it there. Giovanni, 11, chimes in and seconded Bob's motion here. If this computer will work.
It's up on the screen for us.
Yeah, it's up.
Okay.
I can see it.
We have a coach finally. Yeah, Rule and White are fantastic. Derek Power Anderson, Spiritual Minded Nutrition.
That's a free plug if
shout
I've
out-
ever seen one. Good for him
Yeah,
with that name.
Yeah.
Good for him.
I am Ron Burgundy. You post it. I will read it within the FCC guidelines. We should just stay in the I formation, power football. There's no need to see option run with non-option quarterbacks. Listen, the quarterback run's been the strength of the football team. Guys, that was a focus of Purdue early on with what they do with that 5-man front or 2 outside backers that stand up. They were going to make someone else run the ball to beat them. So Harburg's option ability or part of that game severely limited with what Purdue wanted to take away. And I'll credit this to Satterfield. And I think Dolman mentioned it earlier today with the pregame. Nebraska did some good stuff sideline to sideline. The play to Fleeks on third down, they got him on a crossing route. They ran the option pass on play action again, and that's where Harburg seems to thrive on a 3rd and 6. He hit Doss for, I think, 16 yards, and that was pretty much on the money. But he got out of rhythm. It was a far cry from how hot he started out in the second half. And you just got to – I don't believe this team doesn't focus and emphasize on taking care of the football. I don't believe they don't practice ball security drills all day and all night within as physical as their practices are. And then they come out on Saturdays, and I know this team's learning, air quote, learning how to win. They are. And they've not been in this position very often where they're blowing somebody out 21-0. But you can't drift away. I guess that's the –
you got to finish the game.
The silver lining is they almost learned the hard way today. And I know Rule's going to let them know it, probably still is, about how that second half, let alone that fourth quarter, was unacceptable. You can be happy with the win and ticked off. And there's a table full of Nebraska fans. Listen, they're appreciative with the kids' effort, but, man, they are flat out frustrated with how it finished. Not that they weren't just stomping somebody out 49-0. It was just the fact you can't take care of the football, and you keep giving teams, guys, opportunity after opportunity, and they hang around. And it bit you at Minnesota. It wasn't a factor in Colorado. You survived Illinois, but it should have stopped after Illinois. And you fast forward to Purdue right now, and it was the same thing in this fourth quarter, where you're just handing the football away like it's Christmas.
Right. I mean, there's absolutely no reason that Purdue really should have had 14 points in general. They should have just had the 6, and that was on a phenomenal catch in the end zone off of a pretty solid throw as well. But, I mean, the fumble should have never have happened. I agree. I think you just, with a history with Jeff this year, and it's just kind of an unfortunate circumstance of how he's played. I don't see how you could trot him out there in that situation. You go with Purdy. You certainly cannot trot him out there anymore this year. I mean, I think that's been confirmed with everybody now, but there's no reason as to why Purdue should have had 14 points. Now, I feel like it's a good thing that we're talking about the fact that, oh my gosh, Purdue had 14 points and Nebraska won 31-14 instead of 31-6. That's obviously a good problem to have, something we haven't really talked about in the last 4 or 5 years. But at the same time, when you get into more important games against more high-quality competition, that's going to come back to bite you, as Schmitty said. And if you really want to be serious about this thing and really try and push it out into Indy, because, again, you're still somehow controlling your own destiny on your way to that game, which is absolutely absurd. I
can't think of Indy after 5 fumbles today.
Guys, I can't either, but it's statistically possible still. And if you want to make that a reality, you cannot let that happen anymore.
And here's the thing. It's still a possibility, Indianapolis in the year, because we talked about it pregame. Purdue, among the bad teams Nebraska's played this year, and after watching that game, I will also still say Purdue, not a good football team. Nebraska isn't great either, but they're a hell of a lot better than Purdue is. You look at Michigan State. They're spiraling still.
They've lost 6 in a row. They were in a death spiral.
You look at Maryland, they're beginning to spiral. They didn't look good today against Northwestern at all. Wisconsin, we'll see how it goes tonight against Ohio State. Something tells me, I don't think it's a bold prediction to say that's not going to go well for them. And we'll see what the status of Tanner Mordecai is by the time Nebraska and Wisconsin face off in mid-November. And then Iowa at the end of the year, who doesn't have an offense. That might be an ugly game. Like 9-3 is still well on the table. And it's not us just sitting here saying, well, if this goes right and this goes right and this goes right and this goes right. It's a case of if Nebraska shows up to play and the defense shows up to play, Nebraska will have a chance to get to 9-3 this season, as insane as that sounds. And it might sound insane to us. It might sound insane to Husker fans out there. It's there. I think Nebraska, it's more likely they go 9-3 than they go 5-7. I think it's a hell of a lot more likely they win out than they lose out. I don't think either of those things probably happens. I think this team is still flawed. But, I mean, you look at this. Michigan. They think Nebraska's going to make it to Indy. They sent their scouts out.
Look at you with the
Elijah Herbal going full for the people.
And for those listening on the radio, on the stream, we have an image of some, what I can only assume to be Husker fans dressed up in Michigan attire, bringing out the binoculars in the stands today. It's that picture
I
coming out
got
of Memorial Stadium. That's up on the screen right
Good
now.
on you.
That's what you're
if
missing
you
out
had,
on.
Good on you if you had your Harbaugh Halloween outfit.
That's
This
funny. That's funny.
It's pretty good. 489-1240, 489-1240 numbers to get in with Real Red Reaction. We're here at the Single Barrel. Elijah in studio, Tim Bob in his man cave. We're powered by Currency. You can also watch the show, participate in the StreamYard on YouTube. That's the Hail Varsity YouTube channel, the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel. Also, KFOR Sports Facebook, KFOR Facebook and Twitter. Lastly, the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at HVarsity Radio. So mood is what after a 31-14 win? We know what the mood should be. It's mixed right now. It's onward and upward Nebraska is set up, quite frankly, with a team that's lost 6 in a row. They head on the road to Michigan State, a team that will likely have lost 4 in a row in Maryland as they go to Penn State next week. And they can just keep on doing their thing. When's it going to bite Nebraska again if they keep these type of follies happening, these type of fumbles, this lack of focus? You can't.
Here's the problem, Smitty.
You can't go back to a guy that is not going to take care of the football. Let's take the fumble away with Sims for a second. Let's take the fumble away. Let's take Grant away. And you're playing with fire, just with attention to detail with the guy back there, because he's running the motion guy and he's about ready to snap it into somebody's hip again. That almost happened again. I don't get it.
Well,
I don't get it.
If there's any positive takeaway from today, Schmitty, the Jeff Sims conversation has been put to bed the rest of the season.
It has been.
You don't need to put him in at running back. You don't need to put him in at wide receiver. You don't need to put him in at tight end. You don't need to put him in at defensive back. You don't need to put him in any way, shape, or form. That has been put to bed. I don't care how good the guy looks in practice. The guy doesn't look good on the field. The guy doesn't look good on Saturdays. You wish him the best. He's still only at 4 games, so maybe he gets to keep his red shirt and you let him go. He'd be a grad transfer with 2 years of eligibility. I think that'd be doing some service to the kid. I don't think he needs to be on the field in any way, shape, or form, no matter what happens the rest of the year from here on out. He's a turnover machine. He's a mistake machine. You wish he was better. You hoped he was better. He's not. But at this point, I said it earlier in the show, Nebraska's offense, it's a zebra. You're not going to lose its stripes. Jeff Sims is the same way. You can't take a stripe off of the zebras. And Jeff Sims has his stripes right now. It's turnovers and mistakes. He shows it every single time he's in between the white lines.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here because I think Smitty needs some consultation here. This is the era of rule. I won. It was ugly. I don't care how ugly it was. We scored 1 more point than the other team did, and the fan base is happy because we won, and that's the game. Again, you can be as critical as you want to, but at the end of the day, they don't say I won by this much or that much. There's a W. At the end of the day, you're still a winning football team. So I'm just saying that's a mindset. You got to kind of find that within the references of they're not playing well, but it's a W on the board.
It is, but it's going to be a situation here as you get into a Wisconsin and Iowa, even a Maryland or Sparty next Saturday. We could be talking about the same type of start, and you get burnt by a finish because you can't handle and take care of the football. I get winning ugly. It's ugly when the offense goes 3 and out and you score 10 special team points of your 17 second half points. I get ugliness any which way you can, totally. But it's different when it's fundamentals at this point in the year where it's 5 turnovers. That is going to bury you.
Elijah's point, you're not going to change your stripes. You are who you are at this point. Special teams scored some
points. Get to a laser specialist and have them removed.
Again, it's complimentary football. You got some field goals. You got 10 points off special teams.
Turnovers. So you better give some turnovers. That's the wrong type of compliment. And if you're Purdue, you're saying our receivers dropped 6 passes that should have been first downs and should have kept us in this game. So Purdue didn't play a very good game either. Again, it's Big Ten West football. It ain't pretty. It's a slopper fest. It's a hitting big hits on both sides.
a lot of mistakes. Whoever comes out with a W moves on to the next game. I mean, it's a different thing than what it has been or what it ever will be again. That's my thoughts.
Here's my question for the room. Do you feel better or worse this week than you did last week against 17-9 Northwestern?
Hell of a lot better. This
Yeah,
week,
I feel
despite
better.
this.
I feel better. I do, because
I think that's kind of the silver lining, right? I mean,
they looked better on offense in the first half.
exactly.
But then they set themselves on fire in the second half. So
Which is, yeah,
they
So where's the line?
They only played a half of football.
Played pretty well.
They played a half of football like they played most of the game against
I'll give you
offense.
2.5 quarters, but I liked what I saw from the offense in the first half, minus the fumbles. I mean, the fact that you are able to dial up a shot for a touchdown in back-to-back weeks is something I didn't really see coming. The fact that you were able to compile a 15-play, 85-yard drive that went 9 minutes, I think that's a massive accomplishment for this offense. When have you seen that this year from this offense? I mean, that was absolutely phenomenal. That opened the scoring, and you need to see more of that. I mean, you saw the rhythm. You saw them playing with confidence, and eventually they punched it in. Now, obviously, there was a lot of groaning about shotgun on first and goal from the 1-yard line, but it eventually paid off with a nice little out route to Fedoni on the goal line. But I mean, that drive from top to bottom, minus that maybe first and goal play, was pretty good. And then you have the one-play drive the very next time you get the football with a shot out to Lloyd. So I really liked what I saw there. Now, yes, there are certainly things that you can clean up, but, I mean, that's something that we have not seen at all through the first 7 games of the year. Now you get that in game number 8, and you kind of see the trajectory that this team can go on. And it's just a matter of will they go on it here over the next 4 games that are going to be absolutely critical down the stretch in this Big Ten West race.
489-1240, 489-1240. Tim Bob, go for it.
I was just going to say, whenever you look at the stats here, and then invite Tim Bob in, because I did have a quick thought here. I mean, Nebraska won every single stat category today pretty handily. If you want me to run through it, I can't. Turnovers, the one being that they lost. 4 fumbles lost for Nebraska.
They had more, is my point. They won that statistical number too.
Not winning in the way you want to win it, but yes.
They had more.
You had more. But the thing is Nebraska eliminate the turnovers, which easier said than done. Nebraska wins that game today 31-0. If you eliminate the turnovers in that football game, that's a hell of a performance. That'd be a better performance than anything we've seen from Nebraska in recent years. You talk about progress from week 1 until now. You've seen it based on all of the stats you've seen. They ran the ball better. They stopped the run better. They threw the football just as well as Purdue. You were better in penalty yardage. You held the time of possession. You picked up more first downs. You were better on third down. You won in just about every single statistical category except for the turnovers. That's the progress Matt Rule's talking about. You hope eliminating turnovers is the next one, but you still have games left to come in this season for this Nebraska team to continue to get better. And if they continue to get better, that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier with, I think it's more likely you go 9-3 than you go 5-7 to close this season. I think it's more likely you're going to win out because this team has shown progress on a week in and week out basis. You saw progress from Michigan to Illinois. You saw progress from Illinois into Northwestern. You saw progress from Northwestern up until this week now with Purdue. What kind of progress do they show next week? What kind of progress do they show by the time Iowa rolls around? You put 31 points on the board today for the first time this year. It's the first time you broke the 30-point mark. You couldn't do it against Northern Illinois. You couldn't do it against Louisiana Tech. You do it against a defense that I think is a lot better in Purdue. That's the progress that we're talking about. And is that enough progress to lead Nebraska to a New Year's Six Bowl, a top 25 ranking at the end of the year? No, probably not. But it's so much better than what we were expecting, what Husker fans were expecting as of 4 weeks ago. When you lost the Michigan game, a lot of people out there almost put this season to bed and said, you know what? Matt Rule in year 1, it's not his forte. There's going to be lumps to be had. Matt Rule's first season seems like it lasted up until the Michigan game, and ever since then, it's been a whole new chapter in this Husker football season.
Good take.
He is moving forward. He is making this team better. They're getting better on a week-by-week basis. Something tells me they're going to look a lot better next week against Michigan State than they even look this week. What does it look like by Iowa? We don't know, but this team just keeps on taking steps forward. And I think that's all you need to say about what Matt Rule has done in year 1 and the reason why he is showing that he is the right man for this Husker football job.
Vic chimes in. It was good to see Vic yesterday. As was going to read that, but like Vic's been telling us, nothing to worry about. Nebraska's totally dialed in and heading to Indy, or am I just starting to enjoy watching football again? There are elements of it. I'm not expecting a 1995 tribute as far as what you see on the field for 4 quarters.
No, you
But
haven't gotten that.
They have, I'll say this, they continue to overcome themselves, which is different than even last season and previous seasons beyond, where they would have a critical moment. It would capsize the whole boat or vessel, and then they would lose in spectacular fashion. Now I'm whining on the radio about how they're winning. So, yes, it is progress, deep breath. But I lived through the 99 season where Alexander and Seabuck were fumbling 50 times, and you had a defense that was incredible, and Nebraska went on to finish number 2 in the country. I know that's 100 years ago, but this team is not that team, offensive line or talent-wise. So, man, it's problematic with Nebraska and their ball security. And you need to, if you can't change your stripes, Elijah, you need at least to wear a long sleeve shirt, right? Cover the sleeve up a little bit.
That's the old umpire trick. You put on the sleeve whenever you have those exposed tattoos.
That's right.
Stephen Nichols wants to know if I'm on double secret probation for.
Yeah, we will do a better job of not talking over one another, Wade. We'll make that a little less prominent. But time for you to get involved. 489-1240, 489-1240. Want to join the show, can do so. And that's pretty good. Famous shout out, apparently, Elijah.
Yeah, Stephen Bardo apparently checking in. I know Connor's doing some work for him here this winter with the basketball team. So, Bardo, if you're out there, appreciate you tuning in.
Appreciate you, Stephen.
Made a good hire
Nice
with one Connor Clark.
We like it. Nebraska starting the season 0-2. Since then, half the team's gotten hurt. They've won 5 out of 6. We can turn our conversation to Coach of the Year. Rule doesn't want to hear about it. Plenty of games left, but the change has been very real with this Nebraska team. Tony White is nice. You wonder about Syracuse guys and Dino Babbers. 8 years in, they are headed towards maybe a coaching change. Tony White's name's going to come up a lot because of how well this defense has played and how well he has performed. But the here and now is Nebraska knocking on that 6-win door. We'll get to some more comments. 489-1240. You want to join the show here on Real Red Reaction, powered by Currency. Arizona Husker may be in the vicinity. Apparently that's what Matthew's telling us. I am on the wagon for, what are we down to, 57 days with this diet plan, Elijah?
You're the one counting down the days, not me. I don't know.
No, I know.
Days you got left.
The rule culture of 1% better is proving to be true. Agavec chimes in that way. Kenny had a sensation he had not had in such a long time after that field goal block and return. He chimes in, as you can always watch the show on Hail Varsity Twitter and the Hail Varsity YouTube channel, Hail Varsity YouTube channel, and Real Red Reaction YouTube channel.
And Ken, if a blocked field goal return is what it takes, I do think they make little blue pills for gentlemen like you. If you,
I don't think he was. I think he was talking about just the joy, that feeling of joy, Elijah.
I was thinking a different one, but
we don't want to assume anything.
We do have Matt Rule, his post-game thoughts, as well as some of the Husker players, those coming in from our good friend JP. I do believe JP is going to be joining the reaction show at some point. We can step aside and then get to Matt Rule, or we can get to Matt Rule and then step aside. I'll turn it over to you, gentlemen. You can tell me what we'd like to do.
Let's hear from Matt Rule. Let's hear from Matt Rule. What did he have to say? Let's hear from Matt Rule with what he thought of the team's performance. A win is a good thing in Nebraska. Absolutely 3 in a row for the first time since 2001.
1 second here. Let me make sure I got. Here we
In
go.
October.
Yeah, you're obviously happy for the guys that got the win. I thought that was a pretty even matchup going into the game to win it 31-14. That was a dominant performance by the defense. But the offense obviously made the plays we needed to make to have a chance to win the game. Unfortunate at the end of the game, a couple things that happened, but to answer it with a touchdown score there was awesome. So I'm proud of the guys. So, I know some people will question who we play and the schedule. And I'm watching Maryland play Northwestern before the game. I said to the boys, you're a better team than you realize. So just keep playing like it. We're going to keep trying to get better. See, Northwestern beat Maryland. I keep trying to telling the guys to keep getting better. I think that's for these guys on this team. It's the first time they've ever won 3 in a row. It's now it's only 3 games in October, so it's kind of cheating. But as Keith tells me, it's the first time we've won 3 games. We've gone undefeated in the month of October in 22 years. So none of that means anything when I wake up tomorrow. But I do want the guys to appreciate that they're working hard and they're battling, and guys go down and other guys step up. So we'll continue to try to improve the things we're not doing as well. And credit to Purdue. They had a great defensive game plan. We kind of figured what it would be. They put the safety on Heinrich the whole day. Big play by Jalen Lloyd to expose that and get us off to a good lead.
Does the defense, are they starting to understand that they're maybe pretty good?
Their defense feels like they're a good defense. I think they also understand that, when you play defense every week, it can change, right? So you have to just go back to the process. And, I challenged them at halftime. Purdue was 4 of 8 on third down at halftime, and it was 50%. And so we can't allow that. And I think they finished at 5 of 16. So they held them to 1 of 8 in the second half, right? And 1 being that scramble touchdown. So, we certainly don't always put the defense in the best positions with some of the, turnovers and things that happened. And they love to go out there and play. So they're getting better, and we'll continue to have to get better.
At the second straight week, you shut out an opponent right after you turned the ball over on that opening snap. What sort of jolt did that give your guys to kind of continue where you left off defensively doing that?
Yeah, I just think it showed that they're excited to play. They're excited to get out there. Now, we can't keep starting games like this. With us, we'll rethink everything. Like, hey, why are we starting games like this? Obviously, we had great field position, and then fortunately Snods got hit, and and then things happen. But I think our defense just loves to go take the field. They love to play. Even at the end, they wanted to play to the very end, and that's holding them to a field goal, or holding it to where it would have to be holding them on a 2-point conversion. Didn't allow it to be a 3-score game. So I thought they just competed all the plays.
On the 4th down fumble that they ran back, what was your thought process on that play and sequence, and what were you guys trying to do there?
Try to get the first down. Probably if I could go back, my gut was split on it, to be quite honest with you. My gut was to punt it and leave it at the 10 and make them play defense. We thought we had a good play. Play got called in wrong, not from in here, but I have to go to it. But a couple guys ran the play the wrong way. So, sounds like the play is supposed to be run to the right. They call it to the left or shifting to get over there. A little chaotic. So I don't know whose exactly fault that is. So when I don't know whose fault it is, I put it on me. But to be in 4th and 1 and get tackled for a loss, not just get tackled for a loss, fumble, not just fumble, miss the tackle, and then have it running for a touchdown. You're not going to win a lot of games doing that. So there's a lot to improve upon, a lot that has to be better. But, that's a chance in my mind to end the game. It's a chance for us to end the game. And if we want to be the type of team that we want to be, we're going to have to get 4th and 1s. But going back, to be quite honest, I probably would have punted it there. They got, I went to punt it on 4th and 6, no brainer freeze. They jumped off sides. All we got to do is touch them. It's a first down. And part of that's coaching, right? We got to coach that maybe a little differently because I think, let's put it on us. Yeah. So I don't want any of the players to come away from anything. What we do have to come away with is we can't just have the ball ripped out of our hands that many times in the game. So it's a work in progress, but there's a lot of things that we have to get better at.
When you're 24-0, you try that option pass, and Heinrich got rocked on that one, and then you come right back with the speed option. Is there any concern about exposing him to that much punishment and maybe a turnover is possible as a result of that?
We're playing to win, right? It's an option pass. he has some pressure. He throws the ball away and snaps the next snap. Like it's not that hard. Like he can do it. You know, he shouldn't stand there and take that hit. Their kid didn't. Their kid ran out and threw the ball out of bounds. So, you know, we're working through with Heinrich all the time to get to where we want to get him to get. He has to execute those plays and get the ball out of bounds, right? I'm sitting there going, throw it out of bounds. Like, why take a sack for 7 yards? And I'm not criticizing him. I'm just, you know, I just can't live in a world where everything is like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Like, we got to go play, right? Like, good teams play and bad things happen. And like we got to go play. So if I don't want the players to live in that whole what if world and being with us, then we have to do that. Now, that being said, like, we have to run the option. Like, I didn't come here to have people say, well, you know, why are you running the option so much? We ran the option on the last drive. Like, that's what we're going to do. Like, you know, Eric Crouch told me, he said, hey, we had 49. He said, hey, Matt, you hear everybody out? We had 49 fumbles in 1999. So just keep coaching and playing. So, I mean, just everything can't be negative, right? Like, I'm saying not from you, Sean, I'm saying from me. I got to go out there and be like, hey, guys, but there's part of it is growing as a quarterback. Throw the ball away. Like, there's no reason to come off the field with your nose bloody. Like, you're running the option, you go to pitch it, you don't stop and just take a huge hit. Like, you get up, you know. So we're just coaching him all the way through it. You know, he looked kind of bloody, so I put Jeff in. You know, the ball came on the ground twice with Jeff, right? So, you know, and we have to hold the ball like this. So they cleared Heinrich to go. Heinrich went back out there, and, you know, it was good to have the actual downhill run game pop for a big play. You know, and that was kind of what we were looking for.
Is that kind of a coming of age moment for Emmett Johnson? Do you think in a game like that, a proper run like that, you needed it?
I sure hope so. I think the biggest thing with Emmett, I told him the other day, he was standing at practice. I said, boy, you're the starting tailback. You're the starting eye back at the University of Nebraska, and you're standing like a backup. Like, get your shoulders up, get your head. And kind of joking with him, like, I think Emmett Johnson's a heck of a player. AG's a heck of a player. Fleek's made a huge difference in that game. You know, then Fleek throws a punch later and it hurts us. Like, you know, I have to continue as best I can to teach these guys the process. So, like, you know, just because we won 31-14, what could that game have been if we don't punch somebody? What can that game be if we don't have those fumbles, if we do throw that ball away, you know, if we just play the play and take what's there? And so, but, you know, when you have that many young kids on offense, you understand you're going to have to coach your way through the games. I just think the challenge I said to them in the third and fourth quarter was, you have a 21-0 lead or 24. I don't know what it was at the time. I was like, do you guys just want to try to win the game, or do you guys want to play? Like, good teams play. Like, they want to continue to make plays. They want to continue to go. So, you know, the option pass game helped us. I mean, the pass to Jalen Lloyd was an amazing design by Sat. We knew the safety, you know, and the young guy made the play. You know, we took one to Malachi or someone. He got the pass interference. So we just got to keep attacking and playing and play our way through these mistakes.
What did you think of the block field goal? What kind of lift that was for your team?
I thought it was awesome because, you know, we've been all over them. You know, like our history has been, like, wherever we've been, like, we block a lot of kicks. And we know we go live field goal block on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and we're like expecting to get one. And, you know, with where they started with that ball, and I can't remember the exact sequence, so forgive me. And then we got a couple sacks, right, to move them back a little bit. I can't remember how it went, but to not just block the kick, but, like, you know, I love Quentin Newsom, and Quentin and I were first guy. We might have battled a little bit on some things, you know, here and there, but he's standing exactly where he's supposed to be standing. He gets to the level of the kicker and he turns in at the ball. The ball comes up to him, he catches it, he scores a touchdown. Like, you know, that'll be, whether he wants or not, that'll be on my teach tape for the next 10 years about, hey, in Nebraska, here's where we stand. Or Tommy Hill picks off a pass at the end of the game, and he's running in to go score, and he takes a knee because he understands the game's over. Like, the level of discipline and the level of, I say discipline, that's kind of a scary word sometimes. The level of, like, doing exactly what, you know, you're trusting your training was awesome to see from Tommy and Quentin, and I was really proud of those guys.
Did you like? I mean, Quentin's like on the 13, and he starts high-fiving Tommy. Have you seen a player do that before? Well, he's still.
I didn't. If I'd have saw that, I'd have dealt with it. I didn't know that. So gracious. I did not know that till you just said that. So, you know, I don't want to showboat and embarrass. I also want them to have fun and celebrate and love each other. And so, even as I told them in the team, right, just now, win a game like that, some guys made some great plays. Some guys didn't play as much as they wanted. Some just don't make it about you, you know. I mean, for Alvano to go out 2 weeks in a row, and this week he hit the upright and missed it on the pregame field goal, like from, you know, the extra point. He hit the upright and missed it. And he goes out there, and for him to kick that field goal, that was a huge field goal in the game. So just seeing guys playing for each other and celebrating with each other was pretty awesome.
How do you think the team responded just to the elements to win? I mean, that's obviously some challenges you haven't faced all season, just with some of the different weather elements that were affected in this game too.
Yeah, you know, we didn't go outside one time in spring practice. I mean, go inside one time in spring practice. Practice in the rain when it rains. it's a benefit to having guys from this terrain, right? They're kind of used to it. And we want to be tough. So I didn't see anybody make anything about it. Jay brought out the old cover your pad jackets. Hey, Matt, do you want these? We put them away. We're not wearing those. On a day that's, frigid, we would. But today wasn't that cold. It was, I was hoping for worse. As you know, I was hoping to be, sloggy. But it was a good wind. I think the wind affected things as much as anything. Like throwing this way was really, throwing one way was hard. Throwing the other way was easy. Like even the pick that Tommy had, like, the guy was throwing that into the wind, right? So, they might have, thrown a little deeper, but I don't think we didn't let the wind bother us, the cold bother us, and we just played.
One win from bowl eligibility. How big would that be for the program? And do you mention that to the team this week?
No, I've said that I will always deal in reality. If I said this to the team last week, I said, people are starting to say to me, like, hey, you guys are in the hunt for the Big Ten West. And I just reminded them, like, just so you know, when you started the season, you were in the hunt for the Big Ten West. You were in the hunt for the Big Ten. You were in the hunt for the national championship when you started the season. It's only when you lose that you get out of the hunt. So how about you just stick to going 1-0? And I think when you're like in the college football playoff, I'm assuming I haven't been in it yet. When you're in the national NFL and you're in the playoffs, like you don't get to the playoffs and start talking about the Super Bowl. You're like, we better win this week if we want to advance. So we've just been trying to win one game at a time to get to a bowl. I was walking in and I heard someone yell to me, said, "Coach, just one more, just one more." I don't want just one more. You want just one more? Like, I want to try to win every game that we play. And I say that humbly. I want to try to come out every week and compete. I'm still mad about some of the games we lost. I'm still excited about the opportunities that are ahead. And I don't know that I'll talk about it with them. I just think it's, hey, we're going to go to Michigan State and play Michigan State. And if we start talking about bowl games and all that, we might miss out the fact that Michigan State's got a good football team and, they run this blitz or they run this pass, so we'll just try to keep it all football and just try to go 1-0 next week.
One more here. With Sat being upstairs today, did that allow him to see anything a little different? It looked like on the third drive, the one that was 87 yards, 15 plays, you guys were attacking the edges a little more aggressively than you were at the beginning of the game. Was that a result of things you think he was able to see from being upstairs?
I think we played this defense earlier in Illinois. And when we ran all the options and those types of plays, they did a couple things to take it away, right? And they took the safety and they basically brought him down. And he just played Heinrich, so there's no one in the middle of the field. So he was, we were all able to keep an eye on that and say, hey, when they come down, we're going to throw the launch to Jalen. I just think for Sat, it's I think he wanted to be able to see the whole defense, him and Garrett up there. He wanted to see what they're in. And I think, he maybe hasn't had a guy like Donnie on the sidelines in years past. Josh and some of those guys that do such a good job. Really, honestly, like Elliott Brown is like a cheat code for us. Elliott Brown's he basically coaches the receivers during the game and then goes in and plays as needed. Like he's got a headset. He's signaling. Garrett's like, hey, get so-and-so in. It's like we have another coach. And so I think Sat just felt comfortable with the things that happened on the field, wanted to go up, wanted to see it a little bit more, knowing that, hey, this defense is going to do about 3 or 4 different things. And so he's just waiting to see them. Then they started to pressure us a little bit. And I think he made some great adjustments to it. So I had to go back and look at the exact thing. I really thought the thing on the third drive, Mitch, was that I thought Fleeks just made some huge plays for us, right? Like the third down catch, and Fedoni did a great job on that. Then the big option play. So those plays were really well executed by the guys.
I know you have confidence in the team here, but when you have all these injuries piling up through the month of October, you still continue to win, plug in, and things. You guys are finding success. What does that say about your team?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of good players, and I think I haven't believed in a player yet or given a player an opportunity and not felt like they've come through. So if anything, I feel like, hey, am I doing a good enough job of giving guys opportunities? Like who else is out there, right? Like, Bullock struggled on that punt return, and then was kind of like, he's playing a lot of receiver, and we got Ethan Nations, the freshman, he's up next, and I was like, I walked off the field. I said, all right, Ethan, let's go this week, bro. You're the punt returner. So. I think it speaks to the resolve of the team and also just the standard, right? Like that's, when I say things like, hey guys, block out the noise, don't listen to this. It's because it's always this like stuff that makes us not realize like, hey, at the end of the day, football is really just about all of us doing whatever it takes each game to get to here, right? It's about us working together. So I want them to pick up for each other. So I think we're doing a pretty decent job of that. Like, they get a big play, we block the field goal, we run back for a touchdown. That changes everything, right? When we get the ball, we hit the option pass for a touchdown. That changes everything. So, but I'm proud of the guys, definitely. Just we have a lot of work to do. We got a lot further to go. But it's not like even over the last 5 weeks. Like I'm just telling you guys, I was at breakfast this morning, a pregame meal, and my little thing I do is I say, hey, freshmen, seniors, and they go up to eat sophomores. I said freshmen, like half the room stood up, right, and went over there. And some of the sophomores are really redshirt freshmen. So the older guys are doing a good job of demanding a standard of the young guys, but the young freshman players, like true freshmen and redshirt freshmen, are doing a good job. So I'm proud of them all. All right, thanks, guys.
That is Matt Rule, Real Red Reaction here on KFOR, KFORnow.com. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, Connor Clark, Tim Bob Kitzmiller, and Rule addressed it all, and he's about 1-0 each week. We kind of recapped and take some more of your calls here for the next 35 minutes. Young wideouts, shot plays, fumbles, Harburg, play calling, and we talked a lot about swing plays to start. Nebraska made those to win against Northwestern. Nebraska made those again against Purdue. Could you do it in an encore fashion? They did, because things started out pretty rough for Nebraska on offense with a turnover, and the defense was there every step of the way. A little bit better performance for the offense, guys. But still too many footballs on the ground. That is still concerning. Is Rich still on the horn?
I think Rich is, but quickly, I'd just like to say, we talked about pregame. You made the point about swing plays, how important they'd be. I joked about the swing passes. There's a chance Marcus Satterfield was listening, because do you guys notice what the first play call was at the first play of the game?
It was an swing pass. Yeah, I know.
But
sure it was dialed into us. Rich has been on the line. Rich, thanks for hanging in. Thanks for calling a Real Red Reaction. Go ahead.
Hey, go Big Red. I've never lost faith in them. I know they can do it, and they got to know they can do it. And one by one, we're going to do it. I want to thank all my prayer teams that we've been praying, and we're going to keep on praying until we get this championship and bring the dynasty back. But we cannot lose faith in them. I know the last couple of minutes I was getting a little scared and a little nervous, but, hey, we did it, and we can do it again. Go Big Red, get her done.
Rich, thanks for the phone call. Appreciate you tuning in. And yeah, the nerves, right? Shaky hand, pour another, smoke him if you got him. Tim Bob. Well, it got tight in that fourth quarter, Elijah.
You talk about what Nebraska football means to the state of Nebraska. You hear sometimes you see those videos around where the pastor ends the Sunday morning ceremony, Sunday morning service by saying, let's pray for the Denver Broncos. Let's pray for the Kansas City Chiefs today, like joking. Rich and his prayer group, I don't think was joking that they've been praying for the rebirth of Husker football. I think they've probably been praying for a while now, and it sort of feels like their prayers are starting to be answered. That's what it means to the state. There's no joking about that. I don't think Rich was joking when he said his prayer group has been doing that, and good on you, Rich. Good on your prayer group. It's working. Keep on doing what you're doing, Rich.
Pastor last Sunday started off the service saying, well, it's different Sunday, isn't it? Is again, Pastor Jeff's in his Eagles gear, said you had a monster win in volleyball against Wisconsin, and you won in football. It wasn't usually a successful double feature the last few years. And volleyball's been solid as all get out, but football's doing their work. Now, this is a build. It still is far from perfect, but Nebraska keeps finding a way. And 31-14, if you just read the score, if you look at some of the highlights, you're like, all right, good day in the Big Ten for Nebraska. And, oh, wow, by the way, they put up over 30 points. Oh, my God. No, special teams, huge. 10 points in that second half. Emma Johnson finished it off. You just wonder. And I want to go to this because Rule touched on it with Harburg, right? Because he was asked about the play call. After he got sacked, he ran the option. You had a fumble. What are you doing, right? It was a fair question when it comes to play calling and the sequence. And Rule's response is, A, execute, B, be smart with the football. That's what you're trained to do. So he's right with that. But when are guys going to start doing that on a regular basis? And Harburg still, this is start 6. Maybe Tim Bobbin eventually starts clicking in with him and some others.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're asking. I mean, Harburg is again. Matt Rule talked about it
The
this
young
week.
pup.
Well, I mean, Matt Rule talked about it this week. Some of his early starts, he was just playing on athleticism and instinct, and now he seems to be thinking a little bit too much, in my opinion. He's hesitating on some of those option plays, and I was glad to see him pitch the ball quite a bit today. But he's carrying a lot of weight. And I mean, in terms of that program, and that's what the quarterback's supposed to do. But hey, I'm glad to hear Rule kind of pointing that out. Hey, he should throw that ball away. I mean, that's part of his job to recognize there's nothing open, throw the ball away. But that's part of that development. And I think it goes back to what Matt Rule said earlier in the week. He's thinking a little too much and not letting it loose in a couple of plays. And you see it in the option game when he hesitates, or when he tries to cut back instead of hitting that lane that goes to the outside that takes him to the out of bounds line. There's obviously the option is a whole language of football other than what we've seen before, and they used to run a lot of it, and he's still learning to run that option. But there are times I got frustrated with him for those reasons. Hit the lane, pitch the ball, throw it away, and he's still learning to do some of that.
Yeah, I think in addition to that too, Tim Bob, and he's still learning the intricacies of that option, especially at game level and game speed. But at the same time, I thought he made a couple of pretty good decisions throughout the game. I mean, obviously the deep ball was perfectly placed. It was a great throw. He made some other pretty good throws. The play to Fleeks on that crosser I thought was a pretty good throw as well. He made some good, just timely decisions when he needed to tuck it and run. He threw it away in a couple of situations in which he needed to. So I think, yes, he could improve in some areas, and obviously the entire team could. But I thought he made some pretty timely decisions as well, some that helped out this Husker team and some that, just helped out his safety too without getting blown up like that one play where we've all been talking about right before he fumbled it. So I think you got to give props to Heinrich. I think he's improved. I think each and every start. And this is a guy that we've known about for a while because he's a Nebraska kid, and you've known that he's kind of been lurking in that quarterback room. You're not really sure where he's going to fit in the puzzle, and now you kind of force your hand to play him because of the injury to Sims earlier in the year. And I like what I've seen progression-wise for him. Does he have a ways to go? Absolutely. But he's got 4 games left to try and prove that, barring he stays healthy. And I like the trajectory that Heinrich has been on here over the past couple of weeks.
Totally
agree with go ahead.
Him getting better. Go ahead, Tim Bob. Go ahead.
I was just going to say again, and Matt Rule talked about it. He goes, he's getting to the point. He's going to get to that point where he trusts what he sees. He trusts the reads, and he's playing a little more free. I just feel like right now he's, there's some hesitancy, and it's just because he maybe doesn't trust what he's seeing. He hasn't done it enough times to go, here's where I just go make the play. But overall, I agree with you. He made some big throws. He converted on some plays. Again, that drive, that what was it, 6-8 minute drive, the 87 yard was textbook. That's what you wanted. You'd like to just see more of those and more consistency from the Husker offense.
Guys, we've been rolling here for over an hour. I think it's a good time for us to take our first commercial break of the show. Can we all be in agreement there?
Yep, we'll take calls, about 30 minutes to get in. We'll get to more of your StreamYard comments on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel, the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel. It's Elijah Herbal in studio, Tim Bob Kitzmiller and his Husker Den, and Connor Clark here at the Single Barrel with me, Chris Schmidt, 489-1240, 489-1240. We'll get into some grades here, grading this performance by the offense, the defense, special teams, and maybe a thought or two on Michigan State, a thought on the West, and what else has happened around the world of college football. But Nebraska a winner today, 31-14. More from you, more from us. Real Red Reaction here on KFOR continues, powered by Currency.
Score a pair of Husker tickets to the next home game with touchdown trivia on KFOR. Listen mornings with Schmidt, Carroll, and Jeff for your chance to get qualified for the Nebraska football tickets. Get additional chances to win by logging on daily at KFORnow.com.
Y'all gonna let them tackle me like that?
KFOR's
Oh, that was crazy, man.
touchdown trivia. Win free Husker tickets from Lincoln's KFOR.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
The Wild Bird Habitat stores are celebrating their 30th anniversary. See all their October specials at wildbirdhabitatstore.com. Enter to win bird feeders, wild bird feed, or gift cards. Wild Bird Habitat, Lincoln's award-winning backyard bird feeding center since 1993.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. But every driver seeks the pinnacle of their achievements. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
When a parent struggles with addiction or dies from a drug overdose, what happens to their children? Far too many end up in foster care, unable to ever return to their birth homes because it's simply not safe. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is fighting the clock so that teens don't age out of foster care, leaving them at a higher risk of addiction and other negative outcomes that can happen to a child without the love and stability of a permanent family. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
My teenage son only has one brain, and it'll keep developing through his mid-20s. But if he uses e-cigarettes, the nicotine in them can impact attention, learning, and memory, and can prime the brain for addiction. So I've talked to him about staying away from e-cigarettes, because my son only has one brain.
Learn more at cdc.gov/e-cigarettes today. A message from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and this station.
Husker fans, it's time to get real. Whatever is needed following each Husker football game with the Real Red Reaction Show. Immediately after each game, we go live for your unbridled opinions on KFOR and on the KFOR Facebook page. This is the Real Red Reaction Show. Phones are open now, 402-489-1240.
Back here on Real Red Reaction, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark, Tim Bob Kitzmiller. We're here at the Single Barrel, me and Connor are, and man, oh man, there are so many steaks being brought out. There's happy Husker fans chowing down big old steaks. We're talking fillets, we're talking ribeyes, we're talking strips.
Smells good in here.
It looks incredible. My tummy's growling. Nebraska gets a win. Brett chimes in, damn sure wasn't pretty, but we'll take it. A win is a win. It's a beautiful day. Quite a day for Brett down in Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner had a tough one down in Lawrence. Phone calls is what Elijah's telling me about. Trent is with us on the line, 489-1240 to get in here on Real Red Reaction. Trent, thanks for hanging on. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I just want to say this is the first time in a long time that I've been comfortable when we're up more than 14 points. Last year, if we're up, 21, I'm still terrified going into the second half, but I'm pretty confident that we can close games out at this point.
Fair take because of how well the defense has performed this year. Did your confidence or comfort get tested the way that fourth quarter was going?
Even after that Jeff Sims fumble, I I was pretty confident that we were going to close them out.
All right. It would have been a spectacular meltdown, but some of us have seen that happen.
Epic proportions.
Of epic proportions happen over the years. And I know it's different staff, different mindset, different mentality, different practice. I get all that. So the result is what you want and what you need as a Nebraska fan. And Trent, appreciate the phone call and the thoughts because, the fan base has shifted a bit because of what's been proven to you so far from this defense.
I kind of agree with what he had to say. After the Jeff Sims fumble, I was like, okay, this is a little out of control. But throughout the entirety of the game, again, it was right from the get-go. When you fumble the opening kickoff and then the defense comes out onto the field and Purdue just goes backwards. You could kind of feel that energy in the building.
They took out the defense. Connor, it feels like defense takes out their frustrations for the offense on the opposing offense.
Well, because you can kind of feel the defensive unit come off the side and they're like, oh my goodness, we got to go in already. And then they take that aggression out on the other side. I think
that's just my drunk friend. I'll handle this.
Yeah, right. So when you have a unit like that and when you have 11 dudes at a time, in total about 25, just dudes who are out there, and Tim Bob said it earlier, that unit is balling right now, and you feel confident even if the offense turns it over on a short field. You saw that today. This defensive unit is going to come out here and it's going to play some smash mouth football, and they're going to put the hurt on the opposing offense, and they did that for essentially the entirety of the game today. So when you have a unit like that on the other side, which is something that Nebraska certainly did not have last year, you can make the argument about 2 years ago, even though they did lose a bunch of close games, but that makes you that much more confident. Even when Purdue ends up scoring to make it 24-6 at the time, you really didn't feel that nervous, or at least I didn't really feel that nervous. Even when Nebraska's only up 10, you get the ball back and you're able to settle things down, and you finally get the late touchdown as well. So I agree. This feels different because last year and 2 years ago, especially in 2021, as a student, you could feel the entire student body. When you got into the second half of that third quarter, you could feel just everybody nervous energy around, whether that's the rail yard, whether you're at a tailgate, whether it's actually at the game, nervous energy everywhere. I feel like you don't really get that right now, and obviously it's a great thing to have, and hopefully it's not taking any more years off of my life.
Our friend Brandon Vogel from Counter Reed tweeted this out. It was before things got a little bit ugly in the fourth quarter, but the defense had been put in position. There'd been 10 Husker turnovers and only 9 points scored since Colorado.
We talk about confidence.
And that is nuts. And that turnover number jumped from 10 to 12 in the fourth quarter. And it's still 21 points because there's 12 points, 14 total, I should say, 23 total points. But it's incredible. You figure if you're any good as a football team, you'll succeed 50% of the time with points off turnovers. If you're really good, you're going to score some way, somehow off of an opponent's mistakes, either a field goal or a touchdown. And you do that math. Nebraska right now, for them to lead the country in fumbles with 20 is and still be at 5-3. Rule touched on that earlier this week. I think it was Thursday. Harburg with 9 fumbles so far. And I know he's getting hit in practice. They're not beating him up, but they're not green jerseying him to the point where he's not taking contact because they run physical practices. You had 76 rushing yards somehow in that fourth quarter, 93 total rushing yards for Nebraska in the second half. And you held this Purdue team to under 100 yards passing, under 100 yards rushing. And that is exquisite for this defense. And then you factor in special teams and how well your secondary played. 1 sack, but 8 TFLs, Elijah. So Nebraska's defense got after it. But I love how Nebraska takes out whatever their offense does on the opposing offense. That's been the feel here. That's kind of been the mind shift that Rule's got them to buy in on and really believe in. 489.
I'm going to jump in and say Hokie 19 wants to know when we're going to give the O-line little talking points for holding up to that. I've been waiting for Elijah to jump in with his take on this offensive line and how they held up today with, three, the big injuries and everything. I'll listen to what Elijah's got to say about it.
The biggest compliment to the offensive line, for the most part, is you didn't talk about them throughout the game. That's what you want from your offensive line. Was it perfect? No. Is there a hell of a lot to clean up? Yes. There were some negative rushing plays, especially in that first half, that you would think is kind of chalked up due to inexperience. There were some guys that either were lunging off the ball and getting beat that way, some missed assignments that way. But for the most part, the offensive line was quiet. You put up 31 points. You can't be mad about that. That offensive line wore on that Purdue front seven as the game went on. And they did a good job protecting Harburg when he did drop back to pass. Harburg didn't drop back to pass all that much. I think it was 11 passing attempts for Harburg in the game. So you didn't have that many opportunities for that Purdue front seven to get after Heinrich Harburg. But whenever Harburg did drop back, they did a fine job. They were aided by play action there. They did a good job running the football. I think the numbers speak for themselves. And Nebraska got up to 155 yards. That's not great, but you look at the scoreboard, you get 31 points. You say, well, they did enough. This offensive line, I don't think the way it's currently constructed is going to be a team that whenever the defense puts 8 or 9 guys in the box and knows you're running the football is going to be able to do that. But the offensive line couldn't do that before the injuries either. I think that's just the main credit I can give to the offensive line is that they did enough to go win a football game, and they were quiet throughout most of it. I didn't have many negative things to say about them, considering there were some guys thrown into tough spots. And whenever your defense is playing like that, it takes a lot of pressure off the offensive line that, you know what, we don't pick up this first down here. We trust our defense. And how about that defense? The dudes on that defense and the dudes that have become dudes this year. That's the thing is you had guys like Ty Robinson who had flashed and guys like Nash Hutmacher who you saw the ability there. Luke Reimer's been a dude for a couple years for this defense. Nick Henrich has been a dude for a while. Quentin Newsom's been a dude for a while. But there's a lot of guys in that defense that did not pop for years. Omar Brown's been on this team for a couple of years now, and he barely even sniffed the field. Whenever he gets on the field this year, he absolutely goes and plays his heart out. He balls out, and you hope what we can assume to be a concussion is short-lived, and he's back on the field shortly. But you feel good about what's behind him with Taman Lynham and other guys. I mean, Tommy Hill was one of the most maligned guys in Nebraska last year. You brought him in. He was a phenomenal athlete. He can't cover anyone to save his soul last year. So you move him to the offensive side of the ball. He's all right there. You don't know what you can do with an athlete like that. Matt Rule and Evan Cooper figured him out. He is a great addition to that defense this year. Phelan Sanford's been a special teams guy for a couple of years now. He balls out for the defense. You have a couple freshmen stepping up in Princewell, in Cam Linhart. You have a guy I was on the practice squad a couple weeks ago in James Williams. He got snaps again today and got after the quarterback pretty well. There's just guys that it felt like came out of nowhere to become dudes this year, and it's guys that we thought had the potential. Matt Rule and that defensive staff has brought the best out of those guys. And take your cap off, tip it to the defensive staff. They're doing great. Tony White, whether he's a head coach next year or whether he's at Nebraska making a hell of a lot more money than he is now, either way, he deserves whatever flowers he's going to be getting this offseason because one of those two things is going to happen. Either he gets a big raise or he's going to be off being a head coach somewhere. Those are the two options for Tony White this offseason. You hope it's the former and not the latter. Either way, you tip your cap to him and that entire defensive staff because that defense is legit. And what I have seen in the country this year, that defense is firmly top 25, and they're arguing for a top 10 spot in the country based on how they've been playing. They're fantastic.
Brennan, our friend from the Black Hills, chimes in. Here's what I'll say about today's turnovers. Those would have been a death sentence for the last 5 years, and you're right. That's the difference. I guess I'm surprised that they've won or not imploded with the turnovers, but it really speaks to the mentality, the buy-in, and the confidence in what, A, the coaches are telling them, B, the coaches are training them with, and C, the execution, at least on one side of the football. Think about between Illinois and now this fourth quarter today against Purdue. I mean, think of we're talking 6 turnovers. Mm-hmm. 6 turnovers for Nebraska. And you still win by double digits twice.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could make the argument, too, for what Brennan's saying. If you have 5 turnovers in a game, yeah, it's a death sentence in the last 5 years. I think you could make the argument that that's a death sentence 5 weeks ago, maybe. I mean, you turn the ball over that much in a game, I don't think this offense is developed enough yet to go win that game. And now you do enough in order to win that game, and you scored points here today. Now, obviously, 7 of them were courtesy of that blocked field goal, but
it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Any way you can get them, you can get them. And you got 24 from the offense, including the field goal. So you could live with that. I mean, for a team that's averaging under 20 points a game, and you get 24 out of that unit, I'm taking that every day of the week. So I think you could rewind to earlier this year, and I think 5 turnovers is a death sentence this season with this team about 5-6 weeks ago. But they've developed enough, and they've taken enough steps forward to overcome such a thing. And now maybe that's a testament to how good Purdue actually is. But still, at the same time, I mean, you fumbled the ball 5 times. That's a lot of fumbles, not even counting the Anthony Grant one that was ruled down. So I'm really impressed with that, and he's absolutely right. I mean, you go back through the entire Frost tenure, that's an absolute death sentence, even in the last era before that. I mean, it's amazing how much that has killed Nebraska, but it almost did, but Nebraska was able to get over that hump here today and get a pretty impressive win, in my opinion.
Our friend Dion wants to know the stats for Purdue. Hudson Card, 60-32 for 100, 2 picks, 1 touchdown. Meredith came in 1 for 1, -1. Maccabee, 7 for 42. He has fumbled 7 times this year. A lone long run of 16. Tracy, 10 for 29. Card, 11 for 22. Just 1 sack by the Nebraska defense. And 1 shot play of 29 yards to Dixon Veal. That's it. A gain of 16 on the ground, a gain of 29 through the air. And that's it. And Tim Bob, you touched on the 6 drops. Part of those were caused. Some of those were on the receiver. But above all, Nebraska, you know what's so much fun to see, guys, is Nebraska's defense swarming, right? Think about the punt return that was waved off, pun intended, against Iowa a year ago. Or last week. That's what Nebraska's defense looks like on every play someone tries to get on the perimeter. You've got a safety and a corner and a linebacker fighting off a block, beating a block, being physical. And if somebody doesn't get the first tackle, there's 2 more guys around him. Nebraska routinely has 4 or 5 guys. You go back to an earlier play in the ball game. We talked about turnovers. And Nebraska was able to get a forced fumble that was recovered. Big day for Newsom, not only with the fumble recovery, but also the return as Jamari Butler hustling. It was a run play on a 3rd and passing down. Purdue ran it. And what's Jamari Butler do? He hauls from the other side of the field, comes by, makes a pretty jarring hit on Maccabee because guess what? Last week they talked about Maccabee putting the ball on the turf, and similar to Grant, how he carries it out here, Nebraska forced it and made it to happen. That really flipped things. A play later, it's a shot play downtown to Lloyd for a touchdown. So it's these guys are doing what they're told. They're doing what they're taught. And for the most part, it's a feel-good Saturday. You just wonder moving forward, how many can you dial back? How many turnovers can you dial back on the road in Madtown, on the road in East Lansing, at home against Maryland, Iowa? I'm fast forwarding to big picture here because what can this season turn out to be? Can it be Indy? Can it be 8? Can it be 7? The way they're playing football defensively, Elijah, they're going to be in every ball game. We've said that a lot, but you really saw it a second time this year in Big Ten play, Illinois, and now with the win against Purdue.
And as I said earlier, this team keeps on getting better week after week after week. And that's all you can ask for in year 1 of a rebuild. But if the cherry on top is Indy, I don't think Husker fans are going to be upset about that. I don't care if you go lose by 70 points to Michigan. If you make it to Indianapolis, think about this selling point that Matt Rule can give recruits. If in your first year, hey, no one's taken Nebraska to a bowl game in 7 years. It's been 2 coaches. I got him there in my first year. Not only did I do that, I took him to Indianapolis.
With 8 guys hurt on offense.
So what you
I took him to Indy.
I don't care if they lose by 150 points to Michigan, the Big
Kinda
Ten
do.
championship game. No,
Totally kind of do.
no, no. You don't care about that. It's the Big Ten West. You should come
Just
to
maybe a
expect
little
it.
bit.
I don't think.
So no one's going to
Nebraska-
watch anyway?
I don't think Nebraska is going to be upset if they don't make it to Indianapolis. If you make it to the bowl game, you can go sell that to recruits. You can sell what the second half of the year has looked like. But don't be surprised, folks, if we get to Black Friday, and that is the game which determines who is going to Indianapolis. Don't be surprised. Wisconsin's going downhill without Tanner Mordecai, and we'll see if he comes back and what he looks like if he comes back. Even if he is back, the Husker defense is legit, and I think Wisconsin's still going to struggle to move the football on them. I don't see how Michigan State's going to move the football on them. Maryland looks like a shell of what they looked like at the beginning of the year. There's winnable games in front of you.
Good word. Good word. A shell of what they look like.
And if you get to Black Friday and it's for a chance at Indianapolis, Matt Rule's going to have them boys ready to play. I can guarantee you that. Don't be surprised if that's what it comes down to the end of the year. I don't want to be looking too far ahead. This is not Elijah Herbal being an optimist. This is Elijah Herbal being a realist. Nebraska's on the way up. Michigan State's on the way down. Maryland's on the way down. Wisconsin looks like they're on the way down. We'll see if that changed with Mordecai, but they're not what they were. And Iowa doesn't have an offense.
Speaking of Wisconsin, they are currently down 10-0 with 8:53 left to go in the first half.
Yep. As I said.
Yeah.
As I said. I don't know if they're
Granted,
gonna
they
break
are
10
playing
points
Ohio
today.
State, but
You know, I just a hint. Matt Rule may be looking up a little bit because somebody said you only need one more win, coach. He goes, "Is that all you want?" I mean, you got to feel like he's loving it, right? I mean, his philosophy is working. His team's buying in. Light bulbs are going on. You know, this defense is probably like something we've not seen and since, like I said, the 90s. And the thing about this defense that I see is they trust each other, right? They know their job. They're not trying to do something, and they just seem to fly to the football. And man, there were some huge hits. I mean, you know, Omar Brown, hopefully his concussion, but he lit some people up back there. Him and Giff are playing crazy good, and it's a great unit to watch. And of course, plays right into Nebraska's just the nature of the way the state gets behind it, right? I mean, you love to see the points, but you know, when somebody comes and lays a slobber knocker, I mean, it just turns the guy the other way. I mean, how many 4th down and 1s, 3rd and shorts did Nebraska stop today that would have been converted before? I mean, I can count of at least 3 off the top of my head. So, you know, it's a great unit. Again, I'm with Chris. Looking ahead, I'm with Elijah. Optimism, looking ahead. Black Friday could be, you know, playing for an Indy, but again, one game at a time.
Well, let's think about it this way, Tim Bob, really fast. If we go back to week 1 against Minnesota, Nebraska should have won that football game. I think if you advance forward and you play that game in October, Nebraska does win that football game. And it's tough to go revisionist history like that. But I think everyone, including the neutral fan that watched that game, thought Nebraska was the better team. Minnesota finds a way to win. You credit that to them. But Nebraska's story right now is they're finding a way to win despite turnovers, despite shooting themselves in the foot. And I think if you play that game in October, Nebraska wins that game. And if Nebraska does win that game, and that's a big if, I'm well aware you don't have to hop on the phone lines or hop in the comments and say, well, Nebraska didn't win. I know. But if they did, I feel like they were good enough to go win that football game. Maybe that's a better way to put it. They were good enough to go win that football game. Nebraska is sitting in sole possession of first place in the Big Ten West right now. Like, let's put things in perspective. There's been some bad losses. Colorado was demoralizing. Michigan was demoralizing. Everywhere else, Nebraska has played well enough to win the football games that they have played in, and they're still only getting better. And the teams that are left on their schedule, all winnable. Is it a failure if Nebraska doesn't make it to Indy? No, I don't want to set it up like that. I don't want to go too far. Making it to a bowl game is a win. Anything on top of that's a cherry on top. But Nebraska, it's in their destiny. It's within their line of sight, and it's really within their grasp. If they go out and do what they do, go out and the defense plays like we have come to expect this defense to play, and the offense comes together, all Harburg has done so far is win. If they get a little bit better incrementally on the offensive side of the ball or with turnovers, or even if they don't and you just ride the defense, Nebraska is good enough to win every single game they have left on their schedule. That's a tall task, but Nebraska plays good enough and is good enough to win every single football game on their schedule. It's now just a question of, can you go out and do it?
Nebraska is they just got to keep growing up. They've grown up since Michigan on defense. They've grown up since Michigan on special teams. They've got to grow up now on offense. And they have done bits and pieces of some growth. You've still seen growing pains with the turnovers. This team's defense is good enough to get them to Indy. The offense has had moments enough in a Big Ten league where points are at a premium. So Nebraska's seen a little bit more as we talk about them getting better, despite injuries, despite turnovers, still winning, despite themselves. They've had some explosives, guys. You've seen it against Illinois. All right, there was some explosives today, at least in the one play, shot play you've seen the last 2 weeks in a very limited passing attack with a limited thrower, a 45-yard shot and a 73-yard shot. So Nebraska is dangerous in a good way in that sense with their passing game on play action. You put all that together, if you figure out a way to just limit handing an opportunity in great field position to the opponent or not putting someone down, stepping on their neck when you're up, then, yeah, it's a very real discussion point. You just wonder if enough's enough today for Matt Rule after 5 turnovers where they finally turn that corner on offense. We talked about it. That's why I picked Purdue. I thought the offense would be a problem today. I thought the offense would give the football away today. They did. Problem is Nebraska was a little bit better, a better start on offense. Good for Nebraska. And they found a way on special teams to set themselves up for 10 points. So, listen, they won the ball game. They outplayed Purdue, and it was spearheaded by a defense. But if they can just keep getting better, and part of that better is really a 0 to 60 for me. Going from 5 turnovers to 1 or 0, that's just something I'm not sure they can do because it should have happened today with the conditions, with what was preached about. And it's been preached and emphasized all October for Rule and probably beyond taking care of the football. I know they drill it. I got to believe they drill it. And they've just got to make a drastic change. And that's going to be the Achilles heel for me on whether or not they can get to Indy is how well they take care of the football. They've got some shot plays down. You've got some young guys playing well. You've got some replacements in on the offensive line. You got Emmett that's got some confidence running the football. Harburg is still dangerous in a good way, but also in a bad way with handling and taking care of the football. But you still have that defense to rely on, and you have that special teams unit that seems to be really on the rise.
Guys, I just want to quickly jump in here. I may have been making some weird faces on the stream. Friend star Matthew Perry, dead at 54.
I saw that.
That is shocking news.
That.
That's sad news on an otherwise happy day. Friends holds a special place in my heart, so I just want to make a quick aside there. That is awful, awful news, and it caught me really off guard here in the reaction show. So I'd like to get it back to football, but that is just very shocking news. But whenever we get back to football, one of the things that soybean farmer, just chimed in with on the stream is that the offense will keep them from Indy. And I want to get into what you guys think this offense can still become. We've hit on it in a roundabout way because I don't necessarily think the offense as a whole is as bad as it's been made out to be over the past couple weeks. They made some strides forward today. If they don't turn the football over, they might put more than 31 points on the board today. And I guess they technically only put 24 points on with Quentin Newsome returning that kick for a touchdown. But I'm not convinced that this offense is as bad as it's made out to be. I think Husker fans have some different expectations because as bemoaned as Scott Frost was during his 5 years at Nebraska, the dude could run a damn offense. And people talk trash about it. They still make fun of the swing pass, this, that, the other, whatever you want to make fun of with Scott Frost's offense. I guess, okay, he can be a punching bag. His offense, though, was never explicitly bad at Nebraska. What made them look worse than they were was some of those complementary football issues and really poorly timed moments of shooting themselves in the foot. But this offense, it's not high-flying. This offense is not explosive, really. It's gotten a couple explosive plays in the past couple weeks. But on the other hand, this offense does enough to win football games. And is that not one of the qualities that makes a good offense, knowing what you need to do and going out and doing it? That's what they've done.
It's
it hasn't
it's
been pretty.
Consistency.
It hasn't been pretty. It hasn't
going
been
out
consistent.
and doing it.
It hasn't been pretty. It hasn't been consistent. But whenever you have that defense behind you, backing you up, all you need to do is score more points than their team does. And I think that's all you need for the hallmark of what a good offense is, especially in a defensive football team. It's a defensive football team. The offense does enough to win football games. And I'm not ready to say the offense is bad enough to keep them from Indy. Don't think it's high flying. Don't think the offense is going to win them football games if the defense doesn't step up. But the offense is good enough to take them to Indianapolis if the defense keeps on playing like they do. I guess maybe that's the best way to put it. The offense as it currently stands, not great, but good enough.
I want to know who slipped Elijah the roulade, because he sounds a little bit like Matt Rule. One game at a time and keep it together. And I think he's had a sip of the roulade. But I agree with you, Elijah. I'm sorry, Matt. Chris, didn't mean to step on you.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I think the offense is explosive enough to get them to Indy, but it's also detrimental enough. There's going to be a game if they keep pulling this crap with turnovers, short fields, or not finishing a game, that the defense won't have an answer. And it might just take one drive or one sudden change, but the defense has been pretty much perfect with the exception of today's first turnover, right? You had the strip sack that the Purdue defender scored himself, but you had a previous touchdown on the board because of Nebraska's fumble. So there's 5 of them. I get lost. I need to go down the old play-by-play, but that's what I'm asking the question. Yeah, it's good enough. It's explosive enough to get them to Indy at times. They do a few things right. Nebraska's speed at receiver is good, but they have absolutely got miles to go. Miles to go. Let's switch out. We are going to take a quick audible here and shift the programming back to KFOR National. And some last call for you right now on the stream. You want to join us and be a part of Real Red Reaction. We'll switch to digital only.
No break for us. If you're on the stream, it's going to sound nearly seamless to you. We'll send it to break. We'll keep rolling. No break for us. But if you're listening on terrestrial radio, we're going to send it back to regularly scheduled national program. I believe it's the Dave Ramsey Show. And if you want to continue listening, you can find us online. That's the Hail Varsity YouTube page, the Real Red Reaction Show YouTube page, the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter page, or KFOR on either Facebook or Twitter. Those are all the places we're rolling, all the places you can find us. The best spot, though, most likely for you, the Hail Varsity YouTube page. Open up YouTube, search in Hail Varsity, and once you reach the Hail Varsity page, you should see us right there at the top, the Real Red Reaction Show.
Facebook as well for KFOR, Twitter for KFOR. So check that out. We'll send it over to Dave. Probably about 10 more minutes, fellas. We'll wrap, and we still have quite a few folks here on the Real Red Reaction Show powered by Currency. So thanks for your participation. But that's just an interesting dynamic, man. It just depends on, do you get 4 quarters of offense where you're putting a drive together? You've seen some moments with this offense. You've seen some play action. You've seen some option. You've seen the ability to get the quarterback run game going. You've seen the ability to run and get the edges. You've seen, at least the way I like the fourth quarter with Emmett Johnson, just taking a snippet from about 3 hours ago, you saw him run and get really lathered up between the tackles. And Elijah, you're going to get dudes on this O-line that keep getting better. To kind of piggyback off of Steve's comment here with the offensive line, you could see this offensive line really be something by Black Friday. If they keep this unit together, they stay healthy, and they get some confidence, and you figure out what they do best and lean on it.
And we'll continue talking about that on the stream. Apologies, I forgot to send it over.
Oh. Back and action. There we go.
We are off the air. We can cuss now all we want. Just kidding.
Whoa.
No.
All of a sudden.
You start off a reaction show with so many notes, it all goes to hell, but it's a win. Dude, think about, I've kind of shifted a bit from
Have we talked you off the ledge a little bit?
No, and I was like they won by double digits, but I'm standing here. You're watching me, and we're watching like 6 tablefuls of Nebraska fans lose their mind because it's PTSD on. All right, they're going to piss this away.
Yep,
they're going to lose this.
Yep,
it's going to be Michigan State fake fair catch. It's going to be spectacular fashion of doom, gloom, meltdown. But Rule and these coaches are for real. You want to talk about what they should be versus what they are, with injuries, with turnovers, with a defense that could say, forget you guys, man, i.e. the offense. Tim Bob, they're not. They are rallied, and it could be fun to watch.
Man, this defense just seems like they're playing.
If they deliver that knockout punch and quit making you wait for the knockout punch.
You know, the defense just seems like, I know we've harped on it, but they just seem like they're playing with such, joy, right? I mean, they are just flying to the football and going after people. And I don't think they're going to ever say those guys, it just doesn't seem to have that, in the past, it seems like you've had the offense is blaming the defense or vice versa, or special teams or whatever. It does feel like Matt Rule has created a unit that does play for each other and with each other with a lot of joy and passion. And I think, that process is really playing out. And how many times have we said a Nebraska team has gotten better as the season went on? I mean, I don't remember in the last dozen years just thinking this team's getting better each game, right? And usually it's like, can we just, we're talking about three offensive linemen with a lot of experience, and he patches it together. He's putting in their freshman wide receivers and back up. Again, I think Smitty talked about it on Friday, all the different things they've had to piece together, and it kind of comes down to this coaching style. They know what they're doing, and it's showing up in W's, even if the product isn't what you want.
Now, here's a crazy kind of hypothetical question to throw at all of you before we get out of here, because this is something that Schmitty and I were talking about. So, Northwestern is 4-4 right now, and we were talking about, okay, if they go to a bowl, you start talking about David Brown,
Give that dude a
Coach of the Year status, right? If Nebraska finishes 9-3 with a Big Ten championship appearance, do you even dare go there with Matt Rule? Yes or no?
I mean, here's the thing. I'd be hard pressed to give Coach of the Year to a guy in Ryan Brown that isn't going to be back next year. I don't care what he does this year. Aside from Indianapolis, I don't think Northwestern brings him back because he's still part of that Pat Fitzgerald coaching tree. Northwestern, I think, wants to continue to distance themselves from that. Who knows if they even have a football program next year? We'll see about that. I say tongue-in-cheek. But Matt Rule, taking this team to Indy, if he's able to do that, I think that locks up Coach of the Year. That's more important, more impressive than taking Northwestern to a bowl game because of where Nebraska has been over the past couple of years. You haven't even come close to sniffing a bowl game recently. I guess there was the 2019 season, which half counts, but not really. That was a team that finished 5-7, but never quite felt like a 5-7 football team.
They were an 8 or 9 win football team in 2019. When talk about talent
but they never played
players.
Like they never.
No, they
like
absolutely did. That's what was remarkable, fellas. Is Nebraska is playing like a 4 or 5 or 6 win football team on offense when it comes to taking care of the football, but they got a 12 win defense, Elijah.
They do. That's why I was saying it feels like they have a defense that, though the powers of the Big Ten West, if you want to call them that, aren't necessarily going to test this Husker defense all that much. The two biggest tests they got this year were Michigan and Colorado, and they kind of failed both of those tests. I'd like to see them get another chance at both of those teams and see how they fare. But for what they've been putting up over the past couple weeks, it feels like a defense that could or should be top 10 in the country. And maybe that's just because they're untested. But you have a defense that is legit. You have a defense that is Big Ten championship game good. The offense, as I said earlier, doing enough to follow up that performance. But if Matt Rule can take this season and turn it around from losses to Minnesota, Colorado, Michigan, you're sub 500 to start the year. If you can parlay that into a Big Ten championship game appearance, that's coach of the year. Maybe not even just Big Ten, maybe nationally because of the national perception of Nebraska, how long it was going to take to rebuild this program, and what Nebraska's ceiling was going to be, quote unquote. Nebraska's ceiling now is 8-4, 9-3. You can't hope for what it was before. If Matt Rule takes that first step and in year one gets them to 8-4 or 9-3, a Big Ten championship game appearance, I think people have to start reevaluating what is possible in 2023 at Nebraska. And for that reason, I think you're in the running for national coach of the year on this.
That's very fair. Very fair for National Coach of the Year. A few more. 683 people in attendance today, says Steve. Stephen. Red
ESPN
Line
said 19,000. That might be the biggest lie I've ever seen.
Well, there was 87,000 at Memorial Stadium today, too. Paid seats. Proven college football head coach with a record of success, who's not retiring, should be the rule from now on. Hiring, and he's been big, man. They'll go back to work, and we'll see if they're more sound. But I want to go back to how this game started. Aside from the short kick and fumble, it turned to Dolman and just almost screamed. Not, and I don't cheer, I know, but it's just mindlessness when it comes to not taking care of the football. And you started out the way you started last week. And it's just insanity. I'm expecting a different result from this team on offense when it comes to taking care of the football. Elijah, Connor, Tim Bob, and I'm the one that should be expecting it. Just expecting inadequacy with taking care of the ball when it's right there. Tim says, keep picking against us. Maybe I'm the rabbit's foot here.
You're the lucky charm.
Hey, I had sound logic. Nebraska had 5 turnovers, should have been 20 points, 25 points, 27 points off turnovers. All right, there he is.
You can yell that.
I am. Well, Tim's just over there having a big old steak, I think. Hammering a steak, table across from us. And, yeah, I'll keep – I don't know. I haven't made my call yet. On Michigan State. We'll be up there, though. Me and Elijah will have pregame and postgame from Spartan Stadium. We've been approved to be at Michigan State inside their visitors center, and we'll get lined up for that on next Saturday.
Going to be a hell of a
Final
roadie
thoughts?
for me. Schmitty's flying.
Yeah.
Schmitty's he's gotten soft in his old age. he's not built for the roadie anymore. So I'm roadieing out there. I'll be roadieing back. Schmitty's taking the easy route and flying, but I'm doing it the way that the Husker fans do as well. And
but it was meant to be done.
What is that? Is that I-35? Connor would know better than I. What road am I taking out there, Connor?
You take I-80 back to Illinois. That's what
Have fun with that one.
And then I'm going to cut through Gary, Indiana, hopefully with the blindfold on.
Yeah,
so I don't have
no
to see
kidding.
that mess. And then it's a hop.
Might want to plug your nose too.
I remember going to Gary, Indiana. We went that way for South Bend. Cranack was driving. I thought we were entering the gates of hell. There's some steel
horrible.
factory with 3 giant boilers firing up, or Birmingham, England, Peaky Blinders style, with fire coming from the boilers. But final thoughts, guys.
That song, you know that song I'm talking about? They make it sound a whole lot better than it actually is. Gary, Indiana, Gary. They make it sound like such a lovely place, and then you go and your expectations are just like absolutely shot. It's brutal. Tim Bob knows what I'm talking about.
Sure.
I don't know if it was a destination.
Well said, dude. I agree with you.
It used
People
to be
been
like
spending their whole life trying to get out of Gary, Indiana.
I looked
Well,
into
the
it
place
next
was
time.
nice to get from.
The first time I went to Gary, I was so confused. I'm like, how'd they write a song about this place? Apparently, it used to be a thriving, like, little area. It was close to Chicago, so you could get into the big city if you wanted to. It was a thriving industrial center, lots of jobs to go around. And then post-war.
Jackson 5 are from there.
Yeah, post-war, 1960s-ish, we're talking. The manufacturing starts going away. The jobs start drying up. The holes start appearing in roofs. And it really just turned into a hellhole very quickly shortly thereafter that. So it used to apparently be a beautiful place, and now it's a place that you wish you were driving in a bulletproof vehicle and you didn't have to look outside your windows.
And if Elijah is offending you, and you're from Gary, Indiana, and you listen to the Real Red Reaction show, he's not talking about your house.
No.
Well, if you're from Gary, Indiana, you probably know I'm right.
Tried to save you there.
I'll own it. I've been the one talking all this trash. I'll own it.
That's true.
It's grades time. So Arizona Husker has purchased me a Miller Lite. God love you. Thank you. So we're going to give a quick grade.
This time?
I did not ask him about gummies in a public place where there may or may not be law enforcement. So, but we appreciate you tuning in. Currency bringing you Real Red Reaction. Watch the show. Tell your friends. Hail Varsity YouTube channel, Real Red Reaction channel. Going to give the defense an A. Going to give special teams an A. And I'm going to give the offense a C+. The sway with those big plays and some moments they seized early outweigh the turnovers, and the defense helped with that. So I'm going to go A, C+. That's my grade right now for Nebraska and their win.
Sounds just like Connor Clark's report card, huh?
It's all right.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's we don't need to go back to high school, so that's okay. But I will go with the defense. I will also give them an A. I mean, how couldn't you? I will also go A with special teams. I thought, with the exception of Bushini's first punt, I mean, everything else is good. Alvano hitting that 55-yarder. That was awesome to see for him, just as a confidence boost. And you saw how fired up Matt Rule was after he ended up making that as well. It was pretty awesome. And then offense, I'll go C. I'll go a solid C on the offense because they got you 24 points, yet the turnovers are still an issue, but you keep seeing that slight progression from week to week. So that's why I'll go C.
All right. Tim Bob, what do you say?
Defense, A+. Special teams, I still remember that, it was the muff punt and there were some special teams. So I'm going to give them a B and a C- for the offense just because of just some bonehead plays that, the turnovers as well as just not finishing, right? I mean, that just that's my grade.
I'm with Tim Bob here on the B with special teams. The 55-yard Alvano kick seemed to have whitewashed the fumble on the opening kickoff and the muffed punt on the back by Alex Bullock. That's okay, but I think you do have to factor those things in. That lowers it down to a B. If I was being harsh, I'd probably go B-, but you win the game handily. Therefore, it's a B. Defense, they get an A, borderline A+. They played fantastic all game long. The offense, I'm kind of with everybody here in agreement there. The offense gets a C. You put up 24 points. Didn't ever quite look impressive. I think the execution of the offense gets a C-. But how about this? I'll give Marcus Satterfield calling the game from the box a C+. I don't think the errors were on him today. There's only once I think I went, what was that? What the hell was that play call, Marcus Satterfield? So for that reason, it's a C+. Maybe even a B- for Satterfield, but overall the offense gets a C because you got 24 points on the board. You win the game handily. Didn't always look pretty, but you got it done. Your offense did enough.
That'll be something we chew on Monday and more from Matt Rule. But the play calling versus the execution, right? It's always a tug of war. And the execution, God, from someone who's covered the team, or if you're a fan out there, and there is a worst case scenario of what could go wrong and has gone wrong and does go wrong with turnovers. That's why you get the questions, why are you calling that? What are you doing? But if you're the coach, you don't expect bad to happen. You gotta be cautious and careful, I get it, but still gotta kind of live your life and call plays. And more times than not, you have had just idiotic ball protection. It's been incredible. And if you're Satterfield, you can't have a voice left, can you? I mean, you got to be screaming at them with all the turnovers. You got a blizzard game going on, which is pretty cool. It's Air Force and Colorado State. I love snow football.
That's great.
Look, Air Force pitched the ball on an option play in the snow, and a snow angel's happening, and there was no fumble. It's miraculous. So we'll see if Nebraska gets back to work. We will be in East Lansing next Thursday through Saturday as we get you ready for, dare I say, bowl eligibility for Nebraska football as they strive for 6 and beyond. Guys, it's been fun with Real Red Reaction powered by Currency. And again, can rewatch this or check the show as it posts on your time with the YouTube channel for Real Red Reaction and the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at H Varsity Radio and Hail Varsity YouTube. Guys, we'll huddle up and get ready for next week and get ready again at 4 with Hail Varsity on KFOR and KFORnow.com. A final thought, Tim Bob?
Again, thanks for letting me join in. It was a W, and just keep stacking W's, and you may wind up in Indy. You know, who knows? I just remember, I'm old enough to remember a few weeks ago they were saying, 6 wins, this team can't win 6 wins. It just seems like the tide is turning, and so he's moving it back the right direction. So I think they got the right coach, and the progress is good. It's fun to watch just as they grow.
Could be quite a special, memorable season.
I like that,
Elijah.
Yeah, final thought from me. Football is fun again. We can nitpick. It wasn't always pretty. They got it done. I had fun watching the football game. I had fun doing a reaction show. It's been a while since I've been able to say that, especially multiple weeks running. Matt Rule, he's done the impossible. He's made football fun again for Husker fans, and I think that is a win from today on top of the 31-14 final scoreline. We can all have some fun again, and you know what's fun? Speculating about the West running through Lincoln, Nebraska. That's fun.
Love
Screw it. Let's have some freaking fun.
I like it. Connor, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, just keep stacking them, right? It feels good. This is the first time since I've been here that we've reached this sort
I'm
of
laughing
mark.
with you, son.
Yes, the 5 wins since I've been a college student, so that feels great. Just keep stacking them, keep improving each and every week. I sound like a coach right now, but hey, just win the game that's in front of you, and you will go very, very far. Another good opportunity for this team on the road next week. They're fun to watch, as Elijah said. I had fun watching them today. Especially being in the student section for that deep touchdown to Lloyd. I mean, that was pretty awesome. So just keep stacking those W's, and this could be, as Schmitty said, a pretty fun season. And we just have to wait, and only time will tell how good this team can get.
I will keep picking against Nebraska. Nebraska, you keep winning.
Yes.
We can make that happen. And hey, hold on to the damn football there. I'm going to scream at the clouds and shake my fist. And maybe it'll be better in East Lansing next week. We'll talk to you next time with KFOR and, of course, Hail Varsity and Real Red Reaction for Elijah Herbal, Connor Clark, Tim Bob Kitzmiller, Chris Schmidt. We'll talk to you next time. And thanks for tuning in to KFOR and KFORnow.com.